Welcome in to the latest edition of Extra Time. It's incredible. When your team suddenly does well out of nowhere, all the fans suddenly pop up. We've seen Spurs supporters this week, and it's the turn of Chelsea fans over the last few hours who want to remind us in quite some detail that we wrote off Chelsea and their chances of finishing in the Champions League. But it's not just their supporters as well. We mentioned this during the show. Here was Enzo Maresca in the press conference after that win against Forest.
I didn't have any doubt, to be honest, about the players. I said that the doubt was from outside. All the ones that they have the answer, or all the ones that they have the truth. They were saying that we are too young, we are not good enough. They were waiting for Villa drop points in case we want to achieve Champions League. And they were saying that we were not able to win in this pitch because too young, because not experience. And unfortunately for them, they have been all wrong. All the ones, that they have the truth and they have the answer for everything. So in English, I would say F off to all of them because the player, they deserve that.
So a lot of questions in that regard to the ESPN FC panel, especially Craig.
Why?
How does it feel to see Chelsea prove you wrong after being written off as too young, too inexperienced and not good enough for the Champions League? Big pressure, final day, and they delivered. Blue is in your blood. Craig, be happy for your former team.
Shut up. I mean, we didn't write them off. I just didn't think they'd get in the top four. I thought they would have been better teams. But most people think it's been a pretty average Premier League apart from his nibs sat next to me. But I think at the end of the day they've done what...
Say that again?
It's the old mediocre discussion again.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
There's nobody here said they weren't good enough.
We just picked four. We thought there'd been four better teams,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I think is fair enough.
We were just talking about the way they were playing.
That
And they
wasn't
were
good
playing
enough.
garbage.
That wasn't good enough.
No,
the way they were playing wasn't good
No,
enough.
the way they were playing was great.
Oh, initially, yes.
Yeah,
But
and then
until-
Up until December, but
Yeah.
until then, and in the last 3 or 4 or 5 weeks,
Yeah.
when we're
But they
doing
proved
the
you
top
wrong, Steve.
five,
You said they weren't going to make the Champions League, and they have.
But listen,
all right.
listen.
So what?
Newcastle have been in the Champions League recently. Aston Villa have been in the Champions League recently with a new manager. At the end of the day, it's a decent achievement. But the way he's talking there, you think like he's swiped the board and all domestic trophies. You know what I mean? And nobody saw it coming. They clambered in the top. As Stevie said on the show, they clambered into the top four. It could have been so different today at Forest. If Forest had taken the chance that Chris Wood had, but it didn't. And Chelsea made it. Let's see what they're made of next year.
Kasey, were you surprised with? Were any of you surprised that with so much on the line, Aston Villa and Newcastle choked in their matches today?
A little bit, and I think particularly Villa, and we talked about the circumstances with that, how poorly they played the first half, the back pass, the red card, the goal disallowed. I mean, there was a lot of things that went against Villa. I think it's also Newcastle at home, sneaking in the back door because they didn't have against an Everton that they should have been comfortable with. Forced at times up in second, third, particularly when Man City was going through their issues, and then fell off at the end. So look, I give Chelsea a ton of credit for grinding it out.
Oh, don't start.
No. But I also agree with the conversation a few weeks ago that there was a group that weren't as competitive as they needed to be
at the top of the
table.
Yesterday's prediction.
I didn't think they were going to make
now
it.
You're saying, oh no.
No, I can give them credit. I still didn't think they were going to make it.
Villa surprised me because they really lacked some guile in the final third. They hardly got in the final third in the first half. But they missed. They had Tielemans on the bench because he's not fully fit, and he's been a big player in terms of the passing for them. They had Kamara and Onana in the middle of the park, and none of the two of them are creative. And the one creative player they had, and Marco Asensio, albeit he wasn't really in the game much, he had to be taken off when Robin Olsen came in after the sending off. And Marcus Rashford, who's been pretty good for them, couldn't play because he's a lone player. But even at that, I was shocked that when they're playing Man United, who we know have been so bad, just been beaten in the Europa League final. Yeah, it's the last home game and all that sort of stuff. But they couldn't keep the ball. I mean, Villa couldn't pass. And Ollie Watkins up front looks like somebody who thinks, you know, maybe that move to Arsenal would have been all right, or maybe I'm going to get a move.
He looks hard done by, doesn't he?
He just isn't that. He's not even putting himself about like he once was, and his touch and his hold-up play, whenever it went up to him, just wasn't very good.
Kasey, what would you have done if a poor back pass led to a clear scoring chance to the opposition?
I would have agreed with Stevie earlier, saying I probably would have thought I was faster than I was.
Right. How much is in a goalkeeper's mind that it's only Højlund, who we know has got a really poor... No, honestly.
I think the other thing that you need to think about, and I think Nadem in the show kind of briefly, kind of skirted around it, but first half, and you find yourself in a really horrible position that isn't necessarily your own doing, is it better to get sent off and have to play the rest of the match a man down, or concede the goal?
But that's something you have to think about in split seconds.
Really quickly, exactly. And that's why so much of goalkeeping is decision making. And I'm sure you talk to Martinez later, he's kind of like, yep, maybe I should have just let him go, score the goal, 1-0 down, and they had to be better the second half than they were the first. But as a man down, goalkeeper down, substitution because you had to put the goalkeeper on, it completely changed.
How many times were you sent off?
Twice.
Oh, okay, so not anything.
No.
Flattening somebody.
Same as that, kind of outside the box, both occasions. One of them was at the New Den, but it was like the 92nd minute. So you say, okay, you take the man down, you win the game, you take 3 points. And the other time was with the Sounders, and unfortunately, it was against Herc. And Herc had come through, and I thought I could beat him to the ball, and I was a little late.
I can't believe you vocalised that.
And he tried to flick it over me, and I kind of did the old, oh no, it was unintentional.
You're quite old at that stage.
I was an old man.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about Nadem, there's too many people coming on.
We're talking about her.
He mentioned,
not really.
It was a great transition, Craig.
well, Kasey mentioned Nadem about 5 minutes ago. And it's kind of, as we say in Scotland, it's kind of stuck in my craw.
What's that?
Well, there's too many people coming on this show now blowing smoke up their own backside.
What, because they got the predictions right?
Yeah, Nadem was on the show.
Jan texted me as well saying, I told you Man United would beat Villa.
What's this show become? We've got Frank Leboeuf, who whenever he gets 100 things wrong, when he gets one right, he comes on and I told you that. Yeah. Another one, we even have a Spanish version of it.
Yeah,
Luis Garcia.
Luis, yeah.
We've got a Spanish version, an English version, and a French version.
There we go.
Every one of them. Not a peep out of them when they're wrong.
Yeah.
Not a peep.
There's not a Scottish version because you're always wrong.
Correct.
At least admit it, right?
Yeah.
Jack Grealish, Craig, was not included on City's squad versus Fulham. Pep Guardiola said, selection, where should he move this summer transfer window?
Somewhere that's a long way from the bright lights of anywhere.
Right.
There is no doubt that outside activities have taken its toll on his Man City career. There's no doubt about that. Maybe some injuries, but the things are all interlinked. And it's a well-known fact that Jack Grealish likes to enjoy himself. And that's fine. But back when Kasey and I were playing, and before that when Stevie was playing, that's a different era. And I think he's suffering the consequences of that. Now, where he's going to go, you're talking about they want a transfer fee for him because they paid $100 million for him. He's not on peanuts, so he's big wages, but he needs to play a lot. I don't know if I can see a home for him back at Villa. People would say, well, Unai Emery's not his type of player. No, Marcus Rashford, was he Unai Emery's type of player? You got to tune out to him. Does he go back to his hometown club? I don't know. I think it's crystal clear, though, that I think his time at City is probably done and dusted.
Stevie, does the name George Sefton mean anything to you?
George? Yeah, well, George was the announcer at Anfield.
Exactly. He is stepping down at the end of the season, obviously now. Any interesting stories or interactions with him?
I don't know if I ever met George.
But you just heard his voice?
You just hear his voice.
Oh.
And I always, when I was playing, I used to wonder, I wonder what he looks like. And I think eventually I saw him, and it wasn't until a couple of days later that I knew it was him.
Right.
I saw him walking through the outside the dressing room used to be a hallway.
Yes.
Down to the manager's office and the players' lounge. And I saw him one day walking, or I saw this guy walking, and then I happened to mention to somebody, and he said, "Did you not see him the other day?" Because we were all coming off the bus.
Right.
He said, "That's George." I was like, "All right." Oh. And this was about 10 years after I'd been at Anfield.
He never had a photo with you or anything like that?
No.
Wow.
I don't even think I ever met George.
I think it's much more common now that they're kind of down on the pitch and doing more, I agree. I mean, back in the day, yeah, they were kind of up somewhere and there just wasn't the interaction. That
Have I told you the story when I was the stadium announcer for the 2010 Champions League final?
Oh, no. How'd that go?
No, that's the story.
That's it? That was it?
That's it. It's very good. What a performance.
And how can you balls that up?
I did balls it up. I was brilliant. No.
Yeah.
UEFA paid me with a €500 note.
Oh, there you go.
Did you have any clever comments, or did you manage to hold back?
No, I had to be good, didn't I?
Oh.
It was very tempting.
That must have been
No, it was just,
You didn't-
Is that why you're praising yourself?
Exactly.
Because
And I don't think Chonoglu was playing for Inter at the time, so we were all right.
And you didn't say the pitchside reporter was 4 out of 10, did you?
No, I didn't. No. But there you go. You got to set the bar high, and then they get the standards higher. Thanks for bringing that back up. Thanks for bringing that up.
She's gone back to her flat in tears tonight.
No, she hasn't. Gemma
Crying
doesn't
around,
mind. For
She'll be crying
Kasey,
into your paella. She'll still have some left in the freezer.
I doubt it.
Well, you thought.
bin.
Did you hear about the story where he thought the rice
Was salt.
salt? On the rice anyway. That's a lot of salt.
Big paella in Spain.
Oh, yeah, right, we don't need the story.
It wasn't the best.
We don't need the story.
Kasey,
Well, I didn't want
Billy,
to
you're
do it.
announcing.
It took ages, didn't it?
it was not. It was a lovely afternoon.
Although we did get
It
some.
was
ages.
ruined by your.
Well, I don't know. It wasn't round for me because we got some free red wine.
Yes, we did.
And also we saw a game of tennis between the two.
This is the excitement of our
tennis.
trip now.
What game of tennis? A proper
There
game.
was two people that actually can play tennis. Were playing tennis.
For Kasey, a few years ago, there was a
went to the
buzz
whole
around
tradition.
MLS, especially during the start of Inter Miami. Lots of people wanted to join the league, and American players like Pulisic and McKennie seemed to be the game changers of US soccer. What went wrong?
yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on right now. With, I think MLS made a decision to go behind a couple paywalls. And I think it took a lot of eyes just off of all the clubs. And that's, I think, going to be addressed at some stage, because I think it's difficult when you're trying to grow that you take the casual viewer who then becomes a more regular viewer out of the equation. Look, there can only be a buzz for so long when you're going to watch one player. Mm-hmm. You know, if you support Liverpool, if you support Spurs or Chelsea or whoever that Craig was
He doesn't
with,
support anybody.
you know, but if you support the team,
Yeah.
when you market a situation where you're supporting an individual, and then you went, oh, I saw him play, that was great. Okay, now what's in town? Oh, there's a concert. Oh, there's this. You're hoping that you're building supporters for your club, not marketing an individual that's going to be there for a short period of time. And I understand why MLS did it. I understand the situation, but they've got to find a way to come out of it.
I'm like that with NFL, really.
No one cares. That is it. That brings us to the end of today's show. Craig, have a lovely holiday. You're off for 3 weeks now, yeah? Have a lovely time.
A 4.
Oh, 4 weeks? Fantastic.
A 5.
Fantastic.
6.
Back for the club.
Hey,
Club World Cup.
I will be here for the Back for the Club World Cup.
Just a reminder, ESPN FC with you every single day throughout the off-season in Europe. Plenty for us to talk about. We'll be back tomorrow. Be sure to join us.